Hi guys, what's up? This is Dr. Aeronautics, and we're sitting here on the moon, and we're going to go home. Where is that? It's actually right here. Um, I can see Australia and the Pacific Ocean and a bit of China over there. So, some news. This is continuing exactly where we left off, landing on the moon. But, I had my spacecraft refueled because spaceships are magic, and I've only had it filled about halfway up because, believe it or not, going from the moon to the Earth does not take nearly as much fuel as going from Earth to the moon. The reason being is because the Earth has an atmosphere. We can come in barreling down full speed because we don't have to worry about temperature, and we just do a controlled re-entry just straight from post-orbital velocity. Apollo did the exact same thing when they came back from the moon. So it's very easy. That's why, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You have a Saturn V going up, and you have a closet-sized spacecraft coming back. It does not take that much fuel. And if worse comes to worse, we need atmospheric flight. We still have our Scram reserve. So maybe we'll actually use it after all. And the only bit of math involved in this, it's easy as well. The only bit of math that I'm going to use is phasing to figure out when we're going to need to take off, so that when we arrive at Earth, we can just enter the atmosphere above the Kennedy Space Center, and then we basically land there. So it'll work that way. Okay, so I'm actually going to do that bit of math now, and that is basically what we're going to do is modify the orbital period equation, which states that the time of a full cycle is 2 pi times the square root of the semi-major axis. If you don't know what that is, watch my orbital mechanics tutorial. Semi-major axis cubed over the gravitational constant times the mass of the central body, which will be the Earth when we leave the moon. So here's what we're going to do. It's very easy. If you were to consider, it's very easy to fly back from the moon. If you were to consider going to the moon like tossing a beanbag on top of a lamppost from the ground, then going back to the Earth would be like tossing a beanbag off the lamppost and hoping to hit the ground. Okay, it's not that easy, but it's pretty much, you slow down and you get down. It's pretty much that easy. So we don't want the whole orbit, we only want half the orbit, because we're going from moon to the Earth. So the equation becomes pi times the square root of that mess. So we have pi times our semi-major axis cubed, which is 390 times 10 to the 6th meters, over the gravitational constant, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11. It's like kilograms squared per, no, I think it's kilograms meters squared per second squared, or something really weird like that. I'm not concerned about the units. And the mass of the Earth, which is 5.97 times 10 to the 24th kilograms. And something's gone wrong, so give me a second to work that out. I forgot to cube the semi-major axis, so I'm going to take care of that right now. That will make a huge difference, because cubing a very large number makes a very, very large number. And if you don't do that, well, then you get what I got, which is a fraction of a second, and I should hope that would not be the case. Okay, so now I get, looks like about 1.2 million seconds. So we'll convert that into hours. And I get 336 hours, which actually does not sound right. No, that's not right. Alright, let me figure out what's going on. Okay, I found the problem, and I'm embarrassed to say it is an elementary problem. I forgot that the semi-major axis is 1/2 the distance across the long axis of the ellipse, which means the semi-major axis is 195 times 10 to the 6 meters. I should have known that because of the root 2 drop-off, but either way I didn't anticipate that for some reason. So then we have 195 times 10 to the 6 meters cubed divided by the gravitational constant multiplied by the mass of the Earth. And now we should get a good answer. So now we have 428,000 seconds, or 119 hours, and that still feels a little bit long, but it might have something to do with the moon. I'm not taking into account the moon's gravitational field, because a two-body problem is much more difficult than a one-body problem. I want to try and keep it simple. But either way, if we stick to the 119 hours, we're going to have to figure out when the Kennedy Space Center is in view. So we know that the Earth rotates at 15 degrees per hour. So in the course of the 119 hours, the Earth will rotate 1,785 degrees. Or if we phase that, the Earth will appear, from our viewpoint, to change 345 degrees from takeoff. And we're on the opposite side. We'll be on the opposite side of the Earth. So what I'm going to try and do now is figure out when the Kennedy Space Center will be directly opposite that. And so, being that it is 345 degrees, that is going to be 1 hour before the Kennedy Space Center is directly opposite the moon. Or is it 1 hour after? Yeah, it's 1 hour after. So now we have to figure out what is on the opposite side of the Earth. So there's the Earth there. The way we can do it is to pick a star, and I will zoom out so that we can make this simpler. If I had to approximate, I would say the star Wasat was probably going to be closest. So let's see if we can reverse that then. I forget what's opposite to Gemini. And basically what we're going to do now is zoom all the way out. There's the Earth there. Oh, I did say 1 hour after. Also, I'm not taking into account that the moon is rotating about the Earth, but that's, I guess, since we're solving it graphically, it shouldn't matter much. Interesting. Okay, so we actually can use the map MFD to solve this. We're going to go to the Earth, and we're going to go ahead and figure out where the moon is right now. Yes, there it is. And we also need to target the Kennedy Space Center for this to work properly. Where is it? Oh, Cape Canaveral. So it is 80 degrees west, which means 1 hour after would be 95 degrees west. And what we're going to do now is add negative 95 to 180 and find the antipole. Which means when the moon is over 85 degrees east, and I have to do this, make sure it's ground track and not the other one. When the moon is over 85 degrees east, then we take off. It's going the right direction now. You can see the moon is 123-ish degrees east. And I am desperately hoping that although the calculation seems wrong, it's correct. If it's not correct, we may find ourselves landing anywhere on the Earth, just going for the nearest runway. But I'm not here to do crazy calculations. I'm here to show you how to fly this spacecraft the way it was meant to. Okay, so now we can prepare to get the spacecraft ready for when that time comes. So we're going to begin storing things. I'm going to put the airlock ladder up.
Ladder retracted.
That sounds like a female version of Microsoft Sound. If you don't know who Microsoft Sam is, you really need to look it up. Okay, I forget the joke that I made when I opened the airlock the first time, but we're closing the outer door now.
Outer door closed.
Like, could they seriously not get some celebrity like they got for the XR2? Seriously. And now the nose cone. It's best viewed from outside. Looks like the sun is gonna... Yes, the sun is gonna set very quickly. Or, I'm sorry, not quickly, soon. Maybe in about a day or half a day or something like that.
Nose cone closed.
Okay, so we're good there. Let's turn our lights on. And it's not quite like the Earth where it's like immediately like, oh no, if you don't take off immediately. We have at least an hour of time to work with if my calculations are correct. So it's not like as soon as the moon gets to 85 degrees, it's like, oh my god, you must take off this second. It's not quite like that. So we also need to make sure that we prepare to take off the right direction. We're facing east, and our orbit isn't. Or is it? Yes, it actually does appear to be facing east. But because the speed the moon rotates, we only have 3.5 meters per second speed, so it really doesn't matter anyway. Also, because the Earth is... actually, you know what? I'm thinking... Yes, because the Earth is there and we're heading east. Actually, no. Where is our position? I need to figure out our position relative to where the moon surface is. Right, so we're at 33 degrees west. Okay, so we're not going to wait. Yeah, so the thing is, I said an hour after the Kennedy Space Center thing, but then what we have to remember is we're not ready to do an ejection burn yet. So we have to factor in about an hour, which means instead of the moon being at 85 degrees east, when the moon breaks through 100 degrees east, we'll take off instead. So it's when this value here gets to 100. And we need to take off into the plane of the Earth, which means we take off due east. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fast forward then 10x, and here's 100x. Just going to wait for that time to come. You can see that the Earth is rotating under the moon, which is moving it across the surface there. At exactly 15 degrees per hour. Which means we take off now in about 50 minutes. Okay, so this is going to be within about 10 minutes of takeoff. So I'm going to continue getting the spacecraft ready. We should be all set here. I want to detarget the base because that's going to confuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Check the surface, check the orbit. We also have to configure this for ecliptic and altitude for takeoff. And then we have a number of things that we also have to do with the radar panel. And that stays off. The radar panel and the VOR VTOL, we want to make sure that we're still, okay, yes, we're still on the pad things. We use them for takeoff as well, which is very important, else you don't know exactly where you are. And I will go ahead and center the map here. So I'm going to fast forward again because we're nearly ready now and we don't have to take off immediately afterwards. So there's 10x again. Yet another thing that I forgot to check on was our, we're not trying to get the Kennedy Space Center, we're actually trying to land in Mexico, or trying to get our orbital path to impact Mexico, because it takes time for us to slow down as well. So hopefully the 15 degrees that we buffered in factors into it. I don't think it's going to take an hour to reach our escape point. So hopefully that won't be the case. We're back to real time. I'm going to restart the video. Right, and we should be ready for takeoff. We'll go ahead and call now the time. So we're going to have to turn the annoying radar thing on again. That's not good. There we go. Annoying radar thing activated. The HUD is configured. And we're going to go to the surface, and then we're going to go to the orbit. So one of the interesting things about the moon is you can go straight into orbit. So here's a takeoff and ascend to orbit from the moon tutorial built into a tutorial. We should be all good in this department. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn RCS on rotation.
Rotation.
And we're going to go ahead and activate the autopilots. We're going to turn level horizon on. So now we have horizon leveling activated. And we want to be ready for hover hold should we need it. But we seem to be ready now. Okay, so the first step is to apply... I'm actually going to time it this time. So that when the dude says 0, we have commit and we have liftoff, we'll take off. So we basically apply enough hover thrust that we start moving up from the surface.
10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have commit and we have liftoff.
We do indeed have liftoff. So we're going to use the translation thrusters now. To move to, there we go, 90 degrees. And you can see now we're quickly hitting off the surface. Put the landing gear up. And we're starting to get away from the surface now.
Gear up.
Okay, so now what we're going to do, this is where things get interesting. We're going to switch off, we're going to go to orbit, and we're going to apply full thrust at 90 degrees. So we go in 3, 2, 1, now. And now we're firing away from the base. From 0 meters per second. So now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to switch off to orbit here, and as we get faster, I'm going to begin taking off pressure from the hover autopilot, because as our speed gets higher, our trajectory changes, and we need less vertical impulse to actually stay aloft. So there you can see now the base is vanishing into the distance. Okay, I'm removing all hover thrusts now. We should be fast enough. We're at 2,200 miles per hour now. So what we're doing now is achieving lunar orbit. So I'm going to turn off level horizon, not important anymore because we have achieved enough velocity that we don't need to concern ourselves with the vertical aspect of the moon. And here comes orbit. Very quickly we reach orbit, and we're very low. 40 kilometers should work for now. We may have to circularize, but we're at 9 kilometers now, so we should be safe from any ground obstructions on the surface. Brighton Beach is going over the horizon now, and the Earth is there, which means we need to prepare for ejection, and just like that, we're in orbit. And now we go back to being in orbit mode again. So it's as if we have never landed, actually, that quickly. That's all it takes to get into the orbit of the moon. I actually forget how I used to time the ejection burn. If I go back to the Earth version of this, that is somewhat like the trajectory that we're going to be using to land at the Earth. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and keep it like that on this one here. And on this here, we're going to go to... We're done with surface. Map is not much help. I'm trying to figure out which one of these is going to help. Align planes. It's probably not going to help much either. See what happens if I no, that doesn't want to work. So yeah, I'm gonna have to eject, and I'm gonna have to figure out when I need to eject, which is a problem. Let's try not that one. We're gonna reference the moon. I need to figure out, what I need to do is I need to figure out the coordinate of the moon that always faces the Earth. At some point there's going to be a meridian, which marks exactly where the Earth, or which directly faces the Earth. So I'm actually going to have to look that up on the web right now. Okay, I found it, and they said that the prime meridian of the moon actually goes straight through the direct facing Earth in the vicinity of the crater Bruce. So we have to find Bruce now. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, moon. It doesn't help much. There's just too many named features. We can't distinguish whether it's craters or something. Tell you what we're gonna do. We're going to target it through the mapping system. We should be able to get craters to display. If we do display, that doesn't help much. Right, whatever. We're just going to have to accept the fact that, or not accept the fact, but accept it as a fact. Let's go ahead and get rid of this display. Okay, so we're going to do our ejection burn when we get to 0 degrees, which is very soon. I don't know why, but that feels early to me. The other thing we want to do is make sure that we don't add any... Whoops, that's the timer. Okay. So one of the first things I had to do is take off the moon, because it had a bad coordinate there, was glitching out. So what we need to do now is find the inclination of our Earth orbit, and we need to go to Earth, HUD, and we have to burn in a direction that's not going to add any inclination, which should be this direction. Alright, something doesn't seem right here. I don't like that it says we're orbiting that direction. But we're just going to have to trust it because of the moon. Okay, 0 degrees, ejection burn. So what we do now is we burn until we escape the pull of the moon, and then hope that we did it the right direction. I don't know why I honestly can't remember what I've done in the past. Or if I've... No, I've definitely done this before. I mean, the other option is that I could do it mathematically, but I really don't want to have to do that. Okay, now the map is going crazy. There's lunar escape. And there's Seco. Okay, now that really scares me. That makes me think we've done it the wrong direction. We should, in theory, have enough fuel that if we did do it the wrong direction, we should be able to recover. But still, that's disturbing me, and now I want to do whatever I can to try and make sure that it's correct. You know, it might have something to do with our inclination. We check the Earth again. Oh yeah, an inclination of 129 degrees would definitely be responsible for that. So what we need to do now is change our inclination before we get too far from the moon. Yeah, that's definitely the problem. We just need to burn up this direction. That is definitely the problem. So we're going to face that direction now. No wonder why it looks like we're orbiting backwards. And now this should be relatively near the North Pole. Notice I said should be. But no, it's... Actually, that's not too bad. And just to make sure I'm getting the direction right. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to fast forward to the time of plane change. So I'm fast forwarding to 10x, and now the moon again is beginning to drop away. So I know if I can get the inclination on the moon down to 0 degrees, then I know for sure I've done it right. So, burn. This is a descending node. If we burn anti-normal, it will make the inclination go down. We're just a few seconds from the node now, so we're going to start burning. We're going to get the inclination to either 0 degrees or close enough that it's near 0. So far, we haven't surpassed anything that would be considered unwise, unnecessary, incorrect, or wasteful, assuming this is correct. So we're still perfect, although I'm unsure of that. Unless this burn. I think I have the wrong... Did I have the wrong HEDM? Something's not right. Okay, let's see what this does now. Yeah, that was pretty damn wasteful. Oh well, at least I'll be lighter for the re-entry burn. Okay, that's the end of the burn. There we're 0.2 degrees inclination, and we should be in a correct orbit now around the Earth. Yes, that looks. I think that looks good. Okay, now which direction are we facing? Yeah, that looks good, because now what we've done is we've slowed down away from the aha! There we go. So I was about to say that we've slowed down away from the Earth now, and there we go. That looks much better now. So what's happening now is the moon's gravity is changing our speed, and we've just shrunk our velocity down to within very near to the Earth's. So now we're captured by the Earth. And what we're going to do is the moon is going to move in front of us, and we're basically going to trail behind it, is what's supposed to happen. So we're going to start accelerating now to 10x. This is actually kind of interesting. As of now, I find myself falsely proving my own advice, which is saying it's as easy as throwing a beanbag off a lamppost. Although, now what's interesting is the moon is slowing us down enough that this is starting to rotate into the correct direction, which is a good sign. So, and I'm fairly certain we're pointing the right direction. Everything should be going for us. So as long as the moon continues to slow us down, this should work properly. As you can see there, our periapsis altitude is constantly dropping, which is good. Okay, now this is starting to really look good because everything is in the right position. We're trailing behind the moon. We should be slowing down and not going the other direction, which it appears that we're going in the right direction, which is good. So we're going to go to 100 times normal. Now I can see the Earth is starting to appear there at the bottom. Our periapsis altitude is shrinking down because the moon continues to slow us. Okay, we're late enough now back from the moon that I'm fully confident now we've done it properly. This is exactly what we wanted. And the only thing that we've done wrong so far is the wasteful burn by me forgetting that we did it on the Earth node, and I wanted to do it on the Earth HUD. I wanted to do it on the moon HUD instead, because that would have allowed me to be more efficient in my burn direction, because the Earth orbit is not the same as the moon orbit. So we're going to do a mid-course correction once we clear the gravity of the moon, which will be very soon. And again, we're going to go to solar gravity, but I know how to change this, that we can actually, we need to do two things. We need to get close to the Earth, and we need to stop ourselves. We're gaining an altitude off the Earth, and we don't want that. It's going to lengthen the trip, and we can't have that. We need to get back to the Earth now. And we have the extra fuel. If this were real life, we could be like, well, what the heck? But we need to get back there before, sooner than later. And now this next burn will be done off the Earth HUD, because the moon will be out of gravity and the sun is irrelevant because we're moving around it at nearly the same speed as the Earth. There now the moon is shrinking back into the rock that we've always seen it as. Okay, that's the end of the moon. So now we go to the sun, and as of now, we're no longer concerned with the moon. So we're going to go regular time, HUD to Earth, and now we need to figure out the direction. We're retrograde. Not a problem, because we're still, if you look, our orbital speed is only 588 meters per second. That's easy to correct. So I was a little bit, I didn't need to be that concerned. Okay, so there's the Earth. Are we, it says we're prograde now. So the South Pole then should be up, and it is. Okay, so we are indeed orbiting retrograde. We need to stop that. And we need to head the other direction. So what we need to do is slow ourselves down, stop, and then reverse. So there's a little bit of two-dimensional vectoring that I need to work out now. Okay, so what we need to do now is turn retrograde. That's going to be our first vector. And then we have to add in the fact that we're not at apogee yet. Add that second vector in. So if we wanted to kill all of our velocity, which is what we want to do, we would do it here. But we're also moving far out as well. Which means we need to counteract that. By burning this direction. And hopefully we won't capture the moon again, because that's going to cause a problem. Okay, so we're going to burn here now. Get it to flip over as the inclination goes through 0. Okay, so that's the first part of the burn. Next thing I have to do is check out the altitude, and the altitude is low. So what we need to do now, we need to rotate the orbit around. Where is the Earth now? Oh, okay, there it is. So we need to rotate the orbit around. Let's see if... there we go, that'll do it. In fact, it would be quicker if I actually did it over here. So what I'm trying to do now is to get my apogee transit to now, because we don't want to keep moving out away from the Earth. Okay, so now our apogee is imminent, and the only thing we have to do now is to burn prograde until our perigee altitude is above 7, and that's to prevent us from crashing into the Earth. So we're burning now for that. hang on. We're on altitude, so that's done it. Whoops. Forgot we're not Earth-centered yet. Okay, so this is going to be my primary over here. I'm more concerned with the Earth than I am the Sun. There we go now. We've done it with a series of burns. We've lost some efficiency, but we've done it in the correct manner, which is good. We still have plenty of fuel. As long as I've done it... I know I've done it correctly now. As long as the perturbations, I meant to say, are not extreme, we're... What the heck? As long as the perturbations are not extreme, we're done with fuel. That's it. We're only moving at 198 meters per second, so that's going to perturb. We're going to have to do a mid-course correction. Okay, so we're now stable, so we're going to accelerate. There's 10, there's 100, and now 1,000 times normal speed. That looks like Africa. And so it is perturbing a little bit, but not as much as I had feared, which is good. Now keep in mind, earlier this was 158 meters per second. That's because we were near the apogee. But keep in mind, that was exactly 353 miles per hour. So we orbited the Earth at 353 miles per hour. It's impressive, but it's to be expected when you're this far out. Okay, the perturbations aren't that bad, and they're going in the easy direction as opposed to the hard direction, which is difficult to deal with. So there's the moon and the sun, both dropping away. I don't know what it is, but in orbiter, I feel like I'm at home when I'm flying in just open space, not near any gravitational body. It's like an unbound feeling, which is rather interesting. Okay, at this current speed of time acceleration, it's going to take 6 minutes to get back to the Earth, and I'm going to leave it here for a long time, for about 3 minutes. Then I'm going to do a mid-course correction, and then I'm going to go 3 minutes again until the surface. So if you don't like waiting, I suggest now that you move forward in the video 3 minutes when we do the mid-course correction. Meanwhile, we're going to return to a much more interesting view. Going to face the Earth here. And there's 1,000 times again. Good news for those of you who stayed. I forgot to mention that we're also going to have to do a change in inclination. Now all we're going to do is just change the inclination so that we pass near the latitude that we need to. We're not targeting at this point. It's impossible to unless you do a propagated time track, which I don't want to do. So now I need to figure out if this is a descending or an ascending node. We're done with the moon map. I don't even know why it doesn't consider us on the Earth. Still says we're on the moon, which I can't understand. Okay, back to regular time. So now I need to figure out whether this is a descending and ascending node. And, of course, I've forgotten the nomenclature again. I think that means descending, the solid one. Should mean descending. And we're going to raise our inclination, which means we go orbit plus. And this should be a quick burn. We need to figure out the latitude of Cape Canaveral is 28 degrees. So I'm going to aim anywhere between 30 and 40 degrees of inclination. Burning in 2, 1, now. So again, the inclination moves very fast when you're this far out. We're only moving at 702 meters per second. And I basically have to chase this cross around for it to work properly. There's 35 degrees. We'll call it there. Actually, the Earth is going to be over here. It really helps when you know these things. Okay, we're going to fast forward to the mid-course correction maneuver now. So there's 10, 100, 1,000. Now, is that the Pacific Ocean? Yes. Yes, because that's Australia again. You can see now we're quickly speeding